Hello, I'm Kristen from Kristen Cain Style. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I am a style and mindset coach, and that means that I do the work of helping women create amazing style, both from the practical, fundamental strategy technique side, and also from the side of looking at how you actually are thinking and feeling when it comes to getting dressed, and how by changing your thoughts and creating new feelings because of those new thoughts, you can create new results, and you can create the results that you actually want in your style. Style results really do come from understanding the fundamentals and understanding the strategies and learning how to edit and how to shop and how to put together pieces so that they look and feel authentic and stylish. And the other piece of it is mindset. So I have over the years gotten really good at identifying the limiting beliefs and the thoughts that are tripping women up, where everything else gets dialed in and done and they still are not loving how they look and feel. There's always a thought. There's always a thought and a feeling that is to blame, if we can call it blame. And if we can back it up and really get to the place where they can identify what is that thought that I am thinking that is derailing how I feel when I get dressed, we can fix it. It's really that simple. Style therapy is how I work one-on-one with clients, both online and in person. There's a link down below. I offer a 1-hour free consult call. And the reason that it is an hour is because I do an exercise with you where I can show you examples of this thought work. I can show you where your thoughts are getting in the way and how they are preventing you from having the style results that you want. So in that 1-hour consult, we come to a decision about whether we're going to work together or not, but we also really get into what's going on with your style so that you can begin to see, hey, I do understand now that that thought is really not serving me and I could choose a different thought. Okay, so today I am going to talk about a topic that I've been asked about a lot, both from my own clients and from women on Instagram and here on YouTube and in my emails from my email list. And that is how to get dressed and look put together and amazing when it is hot. And so in honor of this video today, even though it is a little chilly still at my house, I have put on a recently thrifted navy blue cashmere shell. And usually I wear it with a blazer over it or a cardigan, but for today, I figured that it would be good for talking about dressing when it's too hot, to wear what you think you would rather wear, and how to resolve the struggle of never looking and feeling authentic and put together and sharp and chic and all the things that I hear from clients when it's really warm or when you live somewhere where it's really warm. And so I think part of what comes up here is, in some of our minds, dressing for warm weather is a very carefree, casual situation, because the only time we really dress for very warm weather is when it is summer and we maybe have been home with our kids, in the years that we were home with little kids, or, we just have a more relaxed vibe, even if we're going to work every day. The work environment has a more relaxed vibe because it's hot, or we are traveling most of the summer and so we're in vacation mode on vacation. Or we are traveling to warm weather when it's cold at our house, so it is like a tropical getaway kind of experience. And so the clothing that we wear in our regular everyday life and the authenticity that we've brought to our wardrobe that we wear in our normal climate is different, feels different than that kind of getaway, carefree, vacation girl vibe. And so a lot of times that's part of the struggle, is that if a client who has lived somewhere where there are different climates and different temperatures year round, when that person tries to move to a warm weather climate, they really feel frustrated and overwhelmed, because what worked when it was cold no longer works in a hot climate, and they're not on vacation in that hot climate. They now live in that hot climate. And so it just gets confusing, because what worked and the layering and the pieces that worked in the seasonal climate where they used to live doesn't translate. And now there's just a lot of frustration and a lot of confusion as to how to still look put together and chic. So the first thing that I hear always from clients who live in places like Arizona and the Caribbean and Hawaii and Florida and some of the desert areas in California, and Mexico, I have clients who live in hot climates. And when they tell me what the problem is, often they mention that they don't understand how to look put together without layers, that they have always heard that it's that third piece that pulls everything together, or they understand how to get dressed and make an outfit interesting when they can layer pieces on top of each other, but without the layers, they're really struggling to look put together when there are no pieces to put together, when the clothing is very minimal and they can't layer and piece together an outfit. That looking put together is kind of eluding them and frustrating them a lot. So when I ask them to describe the thoughts that they're thinking, it's usually something along those lines. I don't know how to look put together without layers. I don't like a body part and therefore don't want to show it. So I hear this sadly more often than you might think. I really don't want to show my arms. I really don't like my legs. It's hot enough that I want to wear shorts, but I absolutely won't show my legs. Or I don't like how I look in dresses because they're uncomfortable in my waist, but dresses would be cooler, and I'm kind of stuck there. There are lots of thoughts that they share around why they can't look great in hot weather. And then when I ask them to share the feelings, it's usually frustrated and, overwhelmed and irritated and angry and resentful if they live in an area that they didn't plan to live in, but job or family circumstances drop them into a hotter climate. They're irritated about it. They don't want to have getting dressed be difficult because of the weather. And this can happen anywhere. And the reason I say that is because I lived for a very long time in Pennsylvania outside of Philadelphia, and I did not like the weather 90+% of the year. There were maybe 10 to 20 days a year when I lived in Pennsylvania where I actually loved the weather, where I felt true joy about the climate that I was living in. So much so that when my kids were in elementary school, we went to California. We pulled them out of school for a week because Matthew had to be in California on business. And we went to Southern California and spent the week, rented a house and spent the week. And, it was educational on many levels. And once we came back, we did it actually a couple different times. And one year after we were back and we were in our kitchen and our kids were there, and it was a really beautiful day in Pennsylvania. It was sort of that Southern California 70-ish degrees and bright blue sky and no humidity. And one of my kids said to me, "You're California mom today." And I kind of asked, what do you mean? And they all agreed that my temperament was the same as it was when we were in California, that there was something very similar to my energy and my vibe and my attitude that they had seen when we would travel to California. And so I realized they're right. They're right. I'm a happier person in a drier climate with more sunshine and more blue sky and more mild temperatures. So I did not move to California, but I did move to Colorado. And while it doesn't satisfy my need for palm trees and beach and warmer weather on a regular basis, it does satisfy my need for much more sunshine and much drier weather. And it has changed my mood. It has changed my outlook. However, moving to Colorado obviously has not given me more opportunities to wear sundresses and that sort of thing necessarily. I had plenty of that in Pennsylvania. It was just more humid. So it's not necessarily a matter of there is a perfect climate. What needs to change could be where you live. Like, there is something to be said for, if you are just not someone who likes hot, sticky humidity, probably living in Louisiana or Southern Florida or even Northern Florida is not going to be the best vibe for you. It's not going to be the best climate to bring out your best self. And you could travel and find where your California mom self would come out, California or otherwise. But if you can't change your circumstance, then you're going to need to change your thoughts. You're going to need to change your attitude, or you're going to spend the rest of your life in a climate that is just making you miserable every time it's time to get dressed, or every time it's time to get dressed in something other than a bathing suit or, a pair of shorts that you would wear, in your home. The first thing that I would suggest is that you make the decision to stop being irritated about the weather situation. If you live somewhere where you're not planning to move and you can't do anything about the weather, I would really urge you to try to stop being angry at the situation. Try to stop feeling so frustrated about it, because there is a solution, and acceptance is part of that solution, because the thoughts that you're thinking are what's creating the irritation and the block and the stuckness and the struggle with the style. If you can pick different thoughts and fall in love with where you live on some level. I love the palm trees. I love that all year long I can come and go without a jacket. Whatever it is in the area where you live, if you can find a few things that you actually like about where you're living, then you can begin to allow that energy and those feelings of feeling good to kind of overlay onto the wardrobe situation, which makes you more inspired and more curious and more hopeful and more interested in actually resolving that problem, instead of just deciding, I cannot get dressed here, I cannot look chic, it's super frustrating, I don't know what to buy, I don't know what to wear, and I'm just mad about it. If you can shift the thinking a little bit and recognize that yes, you might live where it's hot, and there are women who live where it's hot who look amazing every single day. And so you can become one of those women. It's just a matter of beginning to shift the thinking and then shifting the action after that. So I would start by really getting curious and finding women who live in warm climates who you think look amazing. So what you want to do is begin to find stylish women who live in hot climates, because I promise they're out there. So whether you look around in your own town and make notes, take note of what, or take photos of what you're seeing on women who actually you think look pretty put together, even though they look like they're cool enough for the climate you live in. You can go on Pinterest, you can watch TV shows or movies, or go on Instagram. For instance, in this specific category, I would turn to one of my old favorite movies, Against All Odds, with Rachel Ward and Jeff Bridges, and I would look at the style that she wears in LA and in Mexico, and I believe that you can still drop basically those same shapes and styles into today and you would look amazing. So she is hot and sweaty in most of the movie, and yet the style is dialed in. And I realize that's cinema and it's make-believe on some level. My point is that there are women who are living in hot climates who do look and feel chic and amazing in their clothing. And if they've figured it out, you can figure it out too. The other thing I would mention is that probably one of the best things that you can begin to consider is simplification. If you can open your mind to the fact that you might need to simplify your wardrobe on some level, that simpler is going to translate likely into cooler, both simpler in the number of pieces you have that will make it easier to get dressed, and also simpler in pieces that work by themselves, or that, kind of create a great look without being complicated or needing layers. That's going to serve you well. And I would urge you to really begin to question the resistance that you feel around creating a solution, because we do sometimes get stuck in just wanting to be irritated about something. I know this happens in my own life, and if we can open our mind to the fact that we're creating that resistance, and we could just as easily be using all of that energy to create a solution and begin moving in that direction, it's going to feel better when we get on the other side of it and we actually have this wardrobe that we love wearing when it's hot outside. And you might need to let go of an old version of you. Like I said, if you lived in an area where there were seasons, even if it was way back in, your younger years or college years, where that's where your style idea was formed, and now you live where it's hot and you just haven't made the transition to really feel amazing without the layers that you counted on when you felt great in your clothes, living in a climate where, there were multiple seasons. You might need to let go of that old version of yourself. You might need to step into the new version of yourself who embraces the hot weather and has figured out what to wear so that she can look and feel amazing in her clothing, regardless of how hot it is outside. So I've got a few actual tips for wardrobe stuff that can help to look chic and put together, even when it's hot, even when you're wearing minimal clothing. They are, not anything earth-shaking or groundbreaking. They are pretty much the basics that you could find. You probably already know these, but I'm going to reiterate them. And I'm going to mention that with any of these, the most important part is really looking at what your thoughts are and what you're feeling when you think those thoughts, and how that's translating into what you're actually wearing. So the first thing is fabric. I would pay attention to the fabric. I would go with something that is a natural fiber, whether it's cotton or linen or silk. They are going to keep you cooler. And I would go with, a lighter weight of any of those fabrics. And then in addition to that, you could consider playing around with texture or with pattern, so that if you want something that feels more interesting for you, more authentic for you, would be more pattern or more color, then I would pay attention to that with regards to the fabrics that you would be choosing. With regards to fabrics, just to give you an example of how our thoughts get in the way, I have worked with countless clients who live where it's hot, who don't want to wear linen because they feel like linen either looks like pajamas or looks rumpled all the time or is always wrinkly, and they hate to iron. And so if you're not embracing a fabric that was truly designed to keep you cool, and it's worn in all sorts of hot climates, if you're not shifting your thinking so that you could open your mind to the idea of falling in love with linen, because you'd actually be cool enough and you would look chic and the wrinkles are amazing. I love to iron. I love wrinkly linen. I see nothing wrong with wrinkly linen. And so if you open your mind to the fact that the thoughts you've been thinking about linen could be part of the style problem, and consider, I could probably find a piece of linen clothing that I would actually love wearing. Just shifting a little and creating a slightly different thought could open your mind to finding just the piece that you've been looking for that would change the game. In addition to fabric, I'd pay attention to style. Trying to wear fitted things when it's hot usually backfires. It usually ends up making you feel sweaty and icky and like you just can't wait to get your clothes off and jump in the pool. And so I would suggest looser, flowier shapes and styles. And if you grew up on the East Coast or somewhere where, even if you grew up anywhere, styles have gotten larger. Things have gotten flowier and looser over the last couple decades and certainly over the last few years. So if you are used to an older style that is more fitted and now you are trying to shift into something that is flowier so that it can be cooler and more drapey, I understand that there's some resistance. And so if your brain is saying, this makes me feel frumpy, this is too much fabric, this adds too much bulk, I don't like how loose this is, I can't see my waist. If your brain is offering you all kinds of negative limiting beliefs around the idea of even trying on something that is bigger and flowier and looser and softer fitting, then of course you're feeling stuck and you're wearing the shapes that are fitted and they're hot and you're feeling, constricted and sweaty, and that is not ever going to translate into feeling and looking chic and amazing in your clothes. So I would pay attention to the styles and I would get curious and be willing to try on something that fits maybe a little looser and a little differently than what you're used to, and understanding that that might actually be the ticket to make you feel and look amazing in your clothing. Eileen Fisher makes incredible linen and cotton pieces that are drapey and soft, and while they might offer more coverage, they might be long sleeved or more tunic shaped or a wide leg flowy pant, they are chic and they keep women cooler than the other ways of trying to do it, where they're wearing knits and things are more fitted, and it just ends up making you feel hot and not looking and feeling amazing. The last note on loose and flowy is if you pay attention to more traditional dress in places, Hawaii for instance, the movement was created for a reason. There must be something to the fact that a piece of fabric hanging loose away from our body allows air to flow and keeps us cooler, or pieces like that wouldn't have been created in hot climates. The next thing you could do would be wear light colors. If you're someone who has always loved navy and black and darker, richer colors, you could begin to lighten up your colors so that you're wearing lighter grays and pale pinks and pale blues, or just creams and whites and beiges or yellow or pale peach. If you're bringing pastels and lighter colors to it, you could still wear neutral. I have clients who just wear black and white and they live in very warm climates and they make it work for them. They wear a little bit of black and a lot of white and it keeps them cool and they always look chic and things always go together and mix and match. Whatever your color palette is, I would try to lighten it up, because the light colors are going to bounce the heat and the darker colors are going to attract the heat. So if you want to feel cooler, I would go for lighter shades. And the next thing is shoes. I find that shoes are often a problem because women resort to just like your basic flip-flops or some really not stylish sandal because they decide that that's going to be the best to keep their feet cool. I believe you should invest in a great pair of leather sandals. And if you'd rather have a faux leather, certainly you could invest in a great pair of faux leather sandals. But if you think of people who live in Capri or who live in the south of France or who live in Spain in the summer where it's hot, they're wearing beautiful, simple sandals. And so get yourself a pair of sandals that you love, that you can wear with loose, flowy pants or with a dress or, with a pair of shorts or a skirt. You could also do canvas sneakers so that you have something with a closed toe. You could do a little flat that is woven. It could have a closed toe, but it can be a woven fabric instead of patent leather or some thicker leather that's just going to make your foot sweat and make you feel hot. And the next thing is you could elevate your basics. So if what you're going to be wearing is a t-shirt and a pair of loose linen pants, make it a really great t-shirt and a really great pair of loose linen pants. That doesn't necessarily mean expensive. It just means make sure you're paying attention to the details, you're paying attention to the fabric and the cut so that that t-shirt can stand alone and look amazing. There are plenty of options out there, but if you've gotten used to wearing a t-shirt that's just okay because you're always putting something over it, if you're living in a hot climate and wanting to look amazing, you need to pay attention to those basics and possibly find some new brands for the tank tops and the t-shirts and the flowy pants or the skirts, so that your pieces themselves look put together and amazing, even when you're not layering them with other things. The next thing would be minimal jewelry. Certainly, even in Colorado, it gets hot enough where I am not interested in wearing anything around my neck because it is just too hot. So I will opt for a pair of simple earrings or possibly a couple braided or, beaded bracelets on my wrist, or I will opt for basically no jewelry. I'm not really a ring wearer, but if I were, I guess I could wear a ring when it's hot. But get rid of the jewelry if that's just making you feel hotter. There's nothing that says you have to have jewelry on in order to look put together. A simple pair of studs is not going to add any heat. It'll make you look like you had the intention to put on some earrings, but you don't need to have layers of jewelry on when it's hot. You can instead opt for things like a manicure or a really pretty lipstick or different, something you might do to your hair, whether you pull it up or put a ribbon in it. You could wear a hat. I'm not a hat person because curls and hats don't go very well together, but a beautiful straw hat makes an outfit chic, even if it is literally a t-shirt and shorts. It elevates it and makes it look more put together. So any of those accessories that aren't going to add heat to your body, experiment with those and have fun with them, and accept the fact that there are good things about where you live and you wouldn't necessarily want to change that. Fall in love with that. And then just decide that you're going to find a way to get dressed and look and feel amazing in your clothing. A plain t-shirt and a pair of shorts, or a plain t-shirt and a little skirt and a pair of sandals, has every possibility of looking chic and incredible if your attitude matches that. If the thoughts that you're thinking are, this outfit looks chic and incredible, then what you're feeling is amazing in your outfit. You're feeling confident and you're feeling inspired and you're feeling, fabulous. Then when you show up somewhere, that's what people see. They're not seeing the person who's angry that they can't wear their jeans because it's too hot. And the last thing I want to mention is with regards to different body parts that you don't want to show. I promise you that no one else is looking at you and thinking that you should cover up your arms or your neck or your legs or your feet or whatever the part of your body is that you're feeling insecure about showing when it's hot, that it doesn't feel safe to show that part of your body. I promise you that the rest of the world is not looking at you and thinking, why, is she showing her arms, or why is she showing her legs? The rest of the world more likely would notice if you're trying to cover that part up and it is 100 degrees outside. So if it is sweltering out, or even hot enough where you're not comfortable with too many layers and you're trying to cover your arms, that's more obvious to the people who are also hot, who are wondering how on earth that lady has a sweater on. There's not any reason to be ashamed of our body parts. Again, it comes back to a gratitude and an appreciation for what our bodies do. And that doesn't mean you need to, I don't wear shorts. I don't really wear shorts out of my house. I wear them to garden, and I might wear them if I'm on a beach vacation, but I really don't wear shorts in my regular life. And I'm okay with that. I'm not mad about it. I don't beat myself up about it. I saw lots of great shorts come into Anthropologie. I never bought a single pair because I don't wear shorts in my real life. I'm much happier in some sort of a sundress or a pair of wide leg linen pants. I don't need, or a cute skirt with a t-shirt. I don't need shorts to look and feel put together. Doesn't mean I don't think they look cute on other people. It's just they're not for me, and I'm not upset about it. I don't have resistance to that area. It doesn't frustrate me. I don't have thoughts that are causing a problem about shorts. So it's a matter of, if you're really not comfortable showing a body part, try to stop being mad at it and just accept that you're more comfortable wearing a shirt with long sleeves, and then seek out really beautiful linens or silks or cottons in really lightweight versions that you can wear as a blouse, and maybe roll your sleeve up, maybe not, but feel like you're covered in a way that's authentic and feels good for you. And you're celebrating the heat and the climate that you live in, and wearing something that feels good for you because you're cool enough and it all works together, instead of just being angry about it and not opening your mind to the fact that you could probably find pieces that you love, and it's going to be easier to do that if you let go of the irritation and the resistance and the anger. It's totally fine to have body parts you want to keep covered. Just make that decision and don't make it a problem. Make that decision and decide, I'm going to look chic even with my arms covered. Sade, for instance, the singer, who I had the sincere pleasure of seeing in concert many years ago outside of Philadelphia, always wears long sleeves, always. She always looks like $1 million. So it is not that you have to show your arms to look chic in hot weather. I saw her in July and it was hot and she had on a beaded sequined gown with long fitted sleeves. It is not that you have to show a body part in order to look chic when it's hot. It is that you need to reconcile. You will have more fun getting dressed and look and feel better when you get dressed if you reconcile the struggle that you're having with being irritated with your arms and irritated that you can't find things you want to wear that are sleeveless, and trying to cover it up with a really sheer sweater instead of just buying a beautiful blouse that might have a nice fluid flowy arm in a really lightweight fabric that you can wear and look chic and put together in and not have to reveal your arms. Same thing goes for legs. Nice wide leg linen or cotton or silk pants that you can wear and not even ever entertain the idea of wearing shorts, and have that soft, flowy, fluid look with some sort of a little t-shirt or tank top. You're gonna look amazing and you're gonna feel amazing, and that's what it's all about. Great style comes from looking and feeling amazing in our clothing, and that can happen no matter what the temperature. I work with a lot of women in Colorado where it is very cold and very snowy, and it's not easy to get dressed if what you wanna do is show a part of your body because it's often too cold. So we work with layers. I also work with women who live in very hot climates, and we kind of reverse engineer so that you can look and feel amazing and put together with fewer pieces or lighter weight pieces, and it doesn't require the same layering. It's possible to look great in any climate. The decision needs to be that you're going to work with what you've got, work with where you live, and allow it to work for you by shifting the thoughts and the feelings that you have around how hard it is to get dressed where you live. I hope that helps. I really wish that it was hot and sunny at my house right now, although it will be at some point and I'll be ready. Until then, I'm gonna go put my sweater back on, and I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. I am on Instagram every Tuesday doing a live Q&A at noon. If you have a question, I put a question box up over the weekend. At Kristen Cain Style is my Instagram spot. You can also drop a question in the comments below here and just let me know that it's for Instagram and I'll answer it over there. And if you're interested in finding out more about style therapy, I urge you to sign up for a 1-hour consult call, and I can show you how in your own life what you are thinking and feeling about getting dressed is causing the problem, and how to begin to unwind that and shift it and pick new thoughts so that you get a new result, a result you actually love, which is a wardrobe you look and feel amazing in every single time you get dressed. All right, that's all. I'll be back next Friday. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful week. I really appreciate your support. Take care.